Hi, Ryan Steinelson here with Business Trends TV, and today I have Drake Ozment from the law practice of Ozment Merrill in West Palm Beach. Drake, great to have you. We've got some questions from some of our clients, or some of our viewers, and we also found some really good questions online just by Googling what you do. One of the questions is should I file bankruptcy?
Well, hi, Ryan. Good to be here this afternoon, and Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays to you. I'm ready for your questions.
All right.
No question popped up yet, so.
No question. Well, the first question is should I file bankruptcy?
Well, that's a good question. That's where people often start. They're sitting at home, they're thinking about it, and the best answer to that question is anybody can come in for a free consultation and ask questions and find out firsthand, directly from me, whether they should file or not. And every case is unique. It's based on a variety of factors, and we like to look at each person, talk to them, get to know who they are, what their situation is, so that we can let them know if bankruptcy is right for them, one person at a time.
Okay, good. I'm just going to have Mike edit this. We're gonna start again because I got to go right into the questions because we got to use the first part, the first intro. I'd love to ask, say, hey, Drake, whatever, but we've got to use that first part as a bumper, and so we got to make it as short as possible. So that's why I did it that short and as succinct as possible. So let me just start one more time. So Ryan here with Business Trends TV. Ryan's here with Business Trend.
It's that kind of day.
Yeah. Ryan here with Business Trends TV. All right. Ready? Ryan here with Business Trends TV. Today I have Drake Ozment on the line with me. Drake is one of the, well, I guess you'd be a partner. Or yeah.
I'm a partner with Ozment Merrill.
Got it. Okay. Ryan here with Business Trends TV, and today I have Drake Ozment on the call with me, on the webcam here. Oh my goodness, really? Seriously?
Yes, we've been doing this for 2.5 hours.
I know. Ryan here with Business Trends TV. All right. Ryan here with Business Trends TV, and today I have Drake Ozment with me. Drake is a partner at Ozment Merrill, and we have like a bunch of questions here, Drake, actually, from some of our viewers. One of the questions is the first question is basically, what is bankruptcy?
Well, bankruptcy is the opportunity for a person to get a fresh start from their creditors and the financial strain and pressure they feel from all the debts that they've accumulated over time.
Great answer. Now, another question that we got from some of our viewers is, should I file bankruptcy?
Well, that's a great question, and every person is treated on a case-by-case basis, and we think they should come in, see an attorney for a free consultation so that we can get to know their situation and be able to advise them whether bankruptcy is good for them.
Okay, great answer. Okay, now there's a few different types of bankruptcy. I know specifically that from what I know, there's 3, but what are the chapters of bankruptcy that people should be made aware of?
Yeah, that's another good question, Ryan. Most people, when they hear bankruptcy, they're really only thinking of one chapter. It's called Chapter 7, and that is a liquidation chapter. It only lasts about 4 months, where people generally discharge and eliminate a lot of unsecured debt, credit cards, medical bills, things like that. And generally in Chapter 7, a person is allowed to keep a house or their car if they're current on their payments. In addition to that, there's actually 4 more chapters. Chapter 9 is for cities or municipalities. Chapter 11 is for businesses to reorganize and pay their creditors. It's also for individuals who have a lot of accumulated debt or well over $1 million in secured assets, expensive homes, and things like that. There's another chapter called Chapter 12, which is for farmers, specific to helping the family farmer in this country. And the last chapter is Chapter 13, which is for most Americans around the country who are working and just can't pay all of their bills, it gives an individual or a husband and wife the option of filing a Chapter 13 to reorganize and pay their bills according to their budget and their income ability.
Okay, great. Thanks for that summary of all the different chapters. Specifically, you had talked about Chapter 7, but let's talk about that again. What is Chapter 7 bankruptcy?
Okay, Chapter 7 bankruptcy is a chapter where a person files bankruptcy, discloses all of their creditors, and then will select which secured creditors they would like to continue paying for, such as a house or car. They also have the right to surrender the house or car back to the creditor and discharge those secured debts. And in Chapter 7, generally, your unsecured creditors, your credit cards, your medical bills, will also be discharged as part of a Chapter 7. It's a shorter chapter. It's the most common chapter of bankruptcy, and it only lasts about 4 months.
Okay. That's Chapter 7. Now, what about Chapter 11?
Chapter 11... I lost you there for a second. You're back.
Yeah, what about Chapter 11 bankruptcy?
Okay, Chapter 11 is a much more complicated chapter. It's a little bit more involved, and it is generally for corporations to reorganize their businesses, make payment arrangements to their creditors so that they can stay in business and continue to exist in the market. Chapter 11 is also for individuals who've accumulated unsecured debts over $400,000 or secured assets such as expensive homes or multiple homes which exceed $1,080,000 of debt. So it's a larger version of a Chapter 13, which is for individuals with less than $1,080,000 in secured debts or $400,000 in unsecured debts to reorganize. So that's kind of the difference between 11 and 13.
Okay, so what is Chapter 13 bankruptcy?
Chapter 13 is a reorganization for individuals to pay their creditors, much like an 11 is for businesses to reorganize and pay their creditors. But individuals who exceed certain debt limits cannot file Chapter 13. They have to go into what will be an individual Chapter 11 case. It's all based on how much debt somebody has.
Okay, great. And if I file bankruptcy, can I keep my house and my car?
Generally, if you're current with your house, you can keep your house in any of these chapters as long as you're current with the payments. There are times when somebody is upside down on their mortgage, and we might suggest to them that they do have an option of surrendering the property back to creditors and discharging the entire debt and getting a fresh start. They'll go rent for a while, and then they might buy another house another day as they rebuild their credit.
Okay, great. And how does bankruptcy affect my IRS debt?
That's an interesting question, because the IRS is one of these unique creditors that can actually be unsecured, priority, and secured. They can fall into 3 categories depending on how much tax you owe, what year you owe the tax for, and whether or not that they have filed a federal tax lien in your local county records. So you may be able to discharge unsecured IRS debt that's over 3 years old from when the IRS assessed it. Sometimes you have to continue to pay IRS debt that's less than 3 years old, either after your Chapter 7 is over or as part of your repayment plan in a Chapter 11 or Chapter 13. And then the IRS can also be secured. If they file a federal tax lien, they'll be secured to your personal assets, and you'll pay that in your Chapter 11 or Chapter 13 plan along with some interest. And that's the only difference between a secured or priority IRS debt. But you can discharge unsecured IRS debt in bankruptcy.
Okay. Will filing bankruptcy affect my credit?
Most people think when they file bankruptcy that it's going to ruin their credit forever. And it couldn't be any farther from the truth. Because as you continue to make income or find a new job and discharge bankruptcy debt, your income to debt ratio gets better and your credit score usually goes up. And one of the things we have with our software, when we pull in people's 3-in-1 credit reports, is a credit score prognosticator. And it actually shows where people's credit should be a year after filing. And most people I see, it's improved and it's increased, sometimes up to 100 points.
That's awesome. Now, when can I file Chapter 7, Greg?
Well, you can file Chapter 7 anytime. There are some restrictions as to which county you'll file in, or which state that you'll file in, based on how long you've lived in each area. For an example, you need to live here in Florida 90 days to file in Florida, or you have to at least have owned property in Florida for 90 days to file here. So I do see clients who are visiting and come in to see me, and I may have to tell them, oh, you have to file in New York, where you actually reside. But it all depends on how much debt you have and what your income is to your living expenses, and whether or not bankruptcy fits your situation. So we look at every case on a case-by-case basis. We give a free consultation. Never any harm coming in, getting the information, and thinking about it, whether you want to hire us or not.
Okay, sounds good. Now, will filing stop wage garnishments?
Absolutely. Many times we'll do rush filings. We do what we call bare bones petitions. We can file a case either the same day or the next day and stop someone's wages from being garnished, their car from being repossessed. We can even stop the foreclosure sale of people's homes. So bankruptcy is a powerful tool to help you keep your assets and stop creditors from seizing your assets, foreclosing on your home, taking your wages. Very, very powerful tool.
Awesome. What is the difference between Chapter 7 and 13 again?
Okay, Chapter 7 is a shorter form of bankruptcy. It only lasts 4 months. You're not setting up any kind of payment plan with your creditors. You're going to discharge your unsecured debt, your credit cards, medical bills, and then you'll have the option of whether to reaffirm or continue paying your car or homes or other secured debts. We always separate things from secured debts and unsecured debts, and you have options in a 7. In a 13, you have the same options with respect to your secured debts. You can pay your house, you can pay your home, you can catch up your mortgage payments in a 13. You can pay off a car in a 13 plan. And you'll also pay a little bit to the unsecured creditors where you wouldn't in a Chapter 7. And that depends on how much equity you have in the things that you own. How much stock you have, how much money you have in a bank account, how much furniture value you have. So we look at the value of your assets to determine how much you will pay your unsecured creditors in a Chapter 13.
Okay. Good to know. What happens to my cars in bankruptcy, Drake?
Well, as we've discussed, cars, you'll have an option. If it's paid for, you'll generally keep your vehicle in 13 and in a 7 as long as you don't have too much equity in it. If you have a car payment, you have the right to continue making that car payment and keeping your vehicle, but we have to look at how much equity you have in it, because there are limitations according to what state you file in. And in Florida, you're only allowed $1,000 of motor vehicle equity, which seems kind of strange, but the court limits how much equity you can have in a vehicle before you would have to give that vehicle to a Chapter 7 trustee, or give the trustee the amount of equity in cash over that $1,000 limit. In 13, you would reorganize, you would keep your car, you would get that $1,000 exemption, and for every dollar you go over the $1,000 allowance, you would pay your unsecured creditors in a plan that those dollars for the unsecured creditors to divvy up on a pro rata basis. Sounds a little complex, but we'll explain it to people until they clearly understand what they're getting into.
Gotcha. You've given us some great information, Drake. What if somebody? Well, first, before I even go into that, what additional final parting words do you have for the people that are watching?
Well, I think a lot of people are frustrated and have a lot of debt and just don't know how to handle it. And oftentimes they'll wait months, maybe even years before they come in and see a bankruptcy attorney. And I encourage them to, if you're feeling overwhelmed, come on in and talk to a bankruptcy attorney, get some information, find out what your options are, and then you can make an informed decision about whether bankruptcy is right for you and when and if you wish to file.
Okay, sounds good. Now, if somebody wants to get a hold of you, how would they get a hold of you? And I've also heard that you have, maybe there's some sort of a special offer that you have for people that are first-time customers. Do you have anything like that, or no?
Well, as long as they mention this ad, they'll be given a $150 discount on any fees that they pay to us as part of a new client file. They can reach us at 561-689-6789, and they can visit us on the website at ozmentmerrill.com, OZmentMerrill.com, and set up a free consultation at either of our two offices in West Palm Beach and Port St. Lucie, Florida.
Awesome, Drake. Thank you for all the great information. I know it's been valuable to me. I'm sure our listeners have found a lot of value in the questions that you've answered, and I'm sure that the people that visit your website over the years are going to find a lot of valuable information in the questions that you answered today. So thanks. We're going to come back and get some more questions answered from you. I got another 40 or so questions that we're going to ask you over the coming weeks or coming months, and so I look forward to getting those questions answered from you, so that when before people even come into your office, they'll know, they'll have a lot of the answers to the questions they have. So I think they'll be a better prepared consumer, and they'll be also a more informed consumer. So I think it's a win-win. So thank you, and we'll talk again soon. Okay?
Okay, great, Ryan. Take care. Bye.
You bet. Bye-bye.
I think we got some pretty good information there from